All right, and we are live. Welcome to the show. This is Big Reptile Talk with Big Derek and Big Justin. How you doing today, brother?
Good, good. It's great to be here.
Now, the first question, I'm gonna be honest with you, and I hope you don't get mad. I didn't told somebody I was your cousin. They said, Justin Kobylka. I said, yes, that's my cousin. I said, because your name is so powerful in the industry. How does that make you feel having such a powerful name?
I mean, it feels great. It's come so slowly. It's been 20 years now of work in this industry that it's happened to so gradually over time that it I don't know if it's ever hit me. You know what I'm saying in that way.
I said, hey, Justin, that's my cousin, that's my uncle. All right, now with the market, I'm kind of curious. I'm curious, like I've hung out with some of the dopest in the hobby, whether it be always evolving pythons, balls to you, Aussie boys, now you. I've hung out with so many breeders in the industry. I was wondering, do you feel like the market is saturated, or is there still a big opening to capitalize and make money?
Yeah, it's less saturated now than I think it's ever been because what's happened is the market has grown. The size of the market has grown way faster than the supply. Um, and like I see out there that things are selling faster now than they ever have. So I think we're pretty far away from saturation as far as breeders go. I think we have a long ways to go.
Okay, that's an excellent answer. Now, you breed some of the most beautifulest ball pythons I've ever seen. Now, I want to know what makes you gravitate towards the ball python.
I think it's just the fact that we can do this with all different colors and patterns. Initially I gravitated towards ball pythons because of piebalgs and some of those crazy mutations that didn't exist in other species at the time, and you know other species are plenty cool as far as actual animals go. I mean, they're amazing in a lot of ways, but ball python just kind of checks all the boxes. And the fact that ball pythons can more than most other species is a real kind of viable as far as a business side of it. That's what does it for me, because I mean, the goal is we can all have hobbies, but the goal is to every day go and basically play at our job, right? And still feed our families and provide for our families. So ball pythons really is that sweet spot in the industry. I don't think there's ever going to be anything like that else out there like a ball python.
Now, I follow you on Instagram. You are at almost 100K on Instagram. How does that make you feel knowing that 100,000 people want to know what you're doing?
It's kind of surprising, actually, that there's that many out there. But honestly, I used to think that it was kind of topped out at about 30 or 40,000 in our industry you know, that were interested, but it just keeps growing and growing and growing. And with what I'm most interested in is the fact that the general public out there, generally speaking, doesn't know what we do at all. They don't know anything about this. But every time, someone finds out, they're fascinated, and it just grows and grows and grows. Like if we could just find a way to really make this go even wider to a bigger audience, I think that there's no end to all the number of people that could be involved, and it, I just know that every time I get to introduce somebody to these amazing animals, they're automatically a hit. They're automatically like, I had no idea any of this existed. And so I think we're gonna see some really great things in the upcoming years as this sort of things becomes more mainstream, and hopefully it makes it to that level.
I love that answer. I love that answer. Now I want to talk about some of the morphs I've seen because they're gorgeous. Talk to me about the Sumopod Morph. How'd you do that, man? How you come up with that?
So a Sumopod is basically just a reaction trying to make a pandapide without any issues, because the super black pastel or super cinnamon pied has those genetic issues like kinking and issues, with them to where it's hard to produce really good quality ones that don't have issues. So early on, we knew the Sumo was a pure black snake. And so I thought if we can get that into the pied, it's another way to make a similar looking pie. It's going to take a while, but I make it so that every one of them we produce is perfect. No dead in the egg, no kinks, no nothing. And that's it's just a dream based on what we wanted to see and making it right.
Man, your morphs are incredible, man. Like I'm gonna tell you my favorite morph I've seen from you. It is the Wookiee clown. I said he done made a Star Wars snake. Talk to me how you did that, man. That was a tough snake.
Yeah, the Wookiee actually kind of became the Kraken project, where we're at with that right now. And I don't know, it's just a lot of this stuff I can't really take any credit for, except that it's just the natural progression, on some of these things. Every year we take what we've made and we say, what are some things that we can do to make these better or make them different in some way? And then of those ones we do, probably a small percentage of them will be a big hit. Like, wow, that turned in a way that we didn't expect in some crazy way. And the Wookiee Clown project, when we hatched the Krakens, which is from that project, we were like, this is something new, something different. Couldn't have anticipated it. Every year we know that we're going to hatch a couple things like that, but I can't predict which project it's going to come out of. Which project is going to be the one that goes crazy this year with something unexpected. This year it's been that.
I love that answer. Now, with you being a snake breeder, and I'm gonna talk about restaurants for a second. A lot of stores, a lot of restaurants, when they first open up and they get that first dollar bill, a lot of them frame it so they could remember it forever. Now, you being a snake breeder, I'm wondering, do you remember your first snake that you ever sold?
I don't. No, I don't, because I sold a few snakes early on before I was ever thinking about it as a business. So it wasn't a milestone to me at the time. I actually bred some king snakes and some king snakes and milk snakes sort of thing early on. And so I would sell, and so I don't even know, but I do remember my first big ball python sale. It was about $5,000, and it was just for a regular het clown female. Het clown female for $5,000, how much they were back then. And that was my first time, I think, actually ever selling a multi-$1,000 snake as Jacob of Reptiles.
Man, that's some good money, man. I want to do that, man. I want to breed snakes too, man. Now, I know you don't like to talk about the money, so I just got one money question. And I ask everybody this that I talk to, what's the most expensive snake you ever sold?
About $60,000 for one of my original dreamsicle males. Mm-hmm.
$60,000. Like, how does that make you feel knowing you sold a $60,000 snake?
It gave me massive anxiety, is what it gave me, because I sold it, but honestly, it was a snake that I ended up buying back just about a year later. Because although that's really good money, but I ended up buying the snake back. I ended up buying the entire collection of the guy who bought it from me. And that snake ended up making hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of babies for me. And so if I could have gone back in time, I never would have sold it. I never would have sold that $60,000 snake. It's just, you really can't, it's crazy because these are big numbers, but the more expensive the snake is, the more potential it has, which means that you are releasing that potential to somebody else and not keeping it once you sell it. So it's all part of the evaluation of it.
That, man, Mr. Justin, that is amazing. That's mind blowing. Now, talk to me about Kobylka headquarters, that new facility you just got, man. How do you like that facility, man? And tell me how you like it. I watched a video on Always Evolving Pythons, how he toured it. It's amazing, man. Talk to me about that new facility.
Yeah. We built it. We've been here a year and a half now, and it's a huge deal because it's a third facility now. It's a third facility that we've built, and it's the first facility that we didn't really grow with our last one, but what we did is we added like offices and a lobby and like a break area for employees to eat lunch, a little kitchenette, and then more storage spaces for stuff. So it kind of, this building kind of took and made it more legit business, and some of those things. So it allowed us to take a business that was growing really well and doing really well, and like making it in a way much more legit. And so that it's better for employees, it's better for me, it's a good working environment.
Man, I can't wait to have me a
Plus
headquarters
looks
like
cool.
that, man. That
Yeah.
looks cool. That's like a evil villain's lair or hideout. Okay, now with you being one of the biggest breeders in the game, man, huh? Now with you being one of the biggest breeders in the game, what do you feel like is one of your biggest hurdles in breeding?
I think the biggest hurdles are problems with scale, dealing with scale well. Because what happens is when you have a large collection of a large number of animals, you start to deal with certain inefficiencies. You cannot pay as close attention to each individual animal. So what you end up with is a lower percentage of females producing yearly. You end up with some of the things that don't go as well when you're doing lots of scale versus just a few animals. I remember back when I first started, we would get 80 to 100% of the females to produce each year because we were literally focused on those girls nonstop. You add a lot of clutches when you add a lot of girls, but you also take your percentages down because you cannot have the same amount of focus. You also add employees, into the equation, which are a huge help, but they're also change the equation because you have multiple people looking at animals and they're not always sharing information really well. Yeah, there's a lot that comes with scale, and that's kind of what changes it with growth. And that I like it though because that has added a lot of challenges. And for me, this business in general, I like new challenges constantly to deal with, new endeavors. And so the scale of it and having employees and dealing with more girls and trying to get it right has all been part of the fun for me.
I love that answer. Now, you one of the best in the game at what you do. I want to get into breeding myself. Could you give me some breeder advice?
Yeah. Honestly, breeder advice is just to start. A lot of people spend a lot of time on the sidelines trying to figure out how to do it right, how to figure it out right. And the best way to learn anything is to get in there and start making mistakes, one way or another. Like just get in there and people can give you advice all the time, but most people giving advice haven't really done it or they don't know what to do. And their advice is only true to them. So I would just say, like I got in, I made a lot of mistakes initially, but I got in early. I made the mistakes fast and I corrected fast, and then let time smooth it all out. You'll be fine.
I love that answer. Now, with you having a lot of your snakes at your headquarters, I'm curious at your home, what does your personal collection look like? How's that looking?
So I don't have any animals in my home other than mammals. So, but my headquarters is only 50 yards from my home. It's a big warehouse type building, and it's a short walk. But I don't have any personal animals that are.
Okay, I can understand that. Kind of want to keep the work at work, and when you're at home, you kind of want to be at home. I kind of understand that. Don't want to take work home with you.
Sure.
Hey, I love that answer. I love that answer. Now, with you being on the ball python side, have you ever thought about going into the venomous side?
Yeah, I thought about it, but I don't think it's for me. When I was younger, I had a bunch of venomous animals for fun, and I just would catch them every time I would go outside. I was looking for something that's venomous and catch it. But that I've kind of past that point in my life. I think they're amazing, but I don't feel a desire to have that level of risk in my life. It is, no matter how good you are, and I would be careful. There's always a level of risk, and I just don't feel like it's
I,
necessary for me for my enjoyment at this point.
I can understand that. Just to each his own. You like you don't want to go that route, and that's totally cool because you're doing good at what you're doing. Now, I've learned so much just watching your videos, and I want to know with the morphs. Did you have somebody kind of teach you that, or are you self-taught?
Self-taught, because I got in back before there was really combos. I got in back when single genes were what it was all about. And I still remember when Kevin made the first Bumblebee and the first Lemon Blasts, and some of these combos start being made. And so I just kind of learned them along with everybody else. Um, it's very different now for people to get in because they have such a backlog of combos to kind of learn about. Like I can't even imagine their learning curve is so steep now. But for me, I would just, every year I learned a few more, and I was learning them as they came out. It was much, much easier than getting in from scratch now.
I love that answer. Now, being in the reptile hobby, I look up to you, always evolving pythons, Aussie boys. Y'all are just amazing at what you do. Now, who are some of the people that kind of influence you in the hobby? You know,
Sure. I didn't really ever have a mentor per se, but I definitely had people that were really influential, in what I did. And the main one was probably Ralph Davis early on because he inspired through watching his stuff early on because he's one of the absolute giants of this game, especially at the beginning, founders. Watching his stuff was what inspired me to want to do this like I did. He had an awesome way of presenting it. Um, Also, Brian Barczyk. Before Brian Barczyk was on YouTube, he was one of the biggest ball python breeders there was, and I bought a lot of my early stock from him. And he was really helpful to me along the way. Learning kind of the ropes initially. Um, all the other big guys, Peter Call and the Snake Keeper and the Barkers, they're all very influential because they were the ones who were doing it back when I first started being inspired to do it for the first time. Most of my colleagues now who are kind of at the top of their game, they were people who were nobodies like me when I was a nobody too. So we kind of grew up together.
I love that answer. Now, I've been working on getting Brian Barczyk on the show. I've had his son on. I've had Noah on, but we're working towards getting him.
Good.
Now, with your YouTube channel, I know you do a lot of the morph stuff. When can we get a herping video? Big Justin in the field.
That'd be awesome, actually. I don't know. I don't do a ton of that here. Usually, I do that whenever I'm on vacation. I'll go somewhere and be like, "Where can we find some snakes?" But that would be fun. We need to do that.
I've seen when because I looked at your channel. I seen you went herping one time in Kansas, and that's where I live. Now,
Yeah.
with
Hmm.
you going herping, what's one of the best finds you ever found while you were out herping?
My favorite find ever was when I went with a guy in Arizona, and we found ridge-nosed rattlesnakes, which are a real rare species of rattlesnake, and he knew exactly where to find them because otherwise it never would have happened. But he knew exactly where to find them, and it was a really amazing experience to see them in the wild.
Okay. Now, I've been watching your YouTube a lot, and I've seen you've done collabs with AEP, Nerd, Brian Barczyk. Are there anybody else? Is there anybody else that you would like to collab with on your YouTube channel that you haven't already done?
Pretty much everybody, honestly. Anybody who's out there doing cool stuff, I'd love to have the opportunity to visit their place and talk about what they're doing. That's awesome. And yeah, I mean, there's a ton of people I'd love to be a part of that.
Okay. Now, with the reptile bands and you being a breeder, how does the reptile bands, do they make you kind of a little nervous, or what do you think about them? Like what's going on with the bands? Are they kind of did they kind of got you a little nervous?
I mean, in reality, yeah, I'm definitely nervous. I don't want to see anybody's rights go away in this industry, because I know it's a slippery slope, and they're the people who are taking away our rights. They're not going to ever be satisfied with anything. They want us all to not keep any of these reptiles, and so yeah, that makes me nervous. I think all we can do is fight, tooth and nail, no matter what the situation is. I'd like to think ball pythons will be low down the scale, but the reality is, it doesn't matter where they're at on the scale, they're on the scale, and we have to fight, tooth and nail for even these other species now, just in order to defend our rights to have reptiles at all. It's all on the table for them. The people, these advocacy groups like Humane Society, they want to take all the reptiles, and so we can't be picky about which ones we defend.
Right. I'm nervous about the bands, and I hope that we can just keep fighting and get them to stop. I mean, I'm praying for it, man. I'm praying for it. Now, I'm gonna tell you a story, because this is gonna lead into the next question. I had Miguel on my channel, and I asked him, has he, because he hits a lot of expos, has he ever had any crazy fan stories? And he told me a story about a guy. He was like, hey,
Yeah.
he was like, a guy was like, hey, let's go, after the expo, let's go get a couple beers. Miguel was like, oh shit, I'm down. Let's go get some beers. And so we had the beers with him. And after they had beers, the guy was like, hey, let's go up to the room. And Miguel was like, whoa, this ain't that kind of party. So I guess I'm leading into this question and saying, you hit a lot of expos. Do you have any crazy fan stories?
Not crazy, not like that. I think he tops me on that. We get tons of emails and messages, some of which, someone just, I mean, just being online as much, a lot of people feel like they know me, even though I know them, and that kind of creates a weird dynamic, at times. But I would say most people are pretty legit, and there's always a couple people who seem like very personal. Like, I've never met you before, and you already know like everything about me. That's it's a little weird, but that's just the world we live in. Territory.
And the crazy thing is, because I know y'all friends, so I know he told you that story. As soon as I start saying it, you started laughing. So you know where I was going.
Yeah.
All right, now,
Yeah.
now with you being as big as you are in the game, I know you do a lot of selling on Morph Market. I'm curious, have you ever thought about making your own, website to kind of compete with Morph Market to sell reptiles?
No, that's not really a consideration, because I feel like Morph Market does such a fantastic job, and it's better for everyone if we're all in on the same place together. It creates, like a rising tide raises all boats. It's better for us all to be involved in the same marketplace than to fragment it. So even if I could make my own and could get some traction, I think it would be overall harmful to both me and the industry. So I'm not something I'm working to do.
That's a good answer. I like that. So you want I like that. You want everybody together, same place, and it's just everybody can benefit off of it at the same time. I like that. That's a good answer.
It's best, yeah.
Now with you having that lovely headquarters, I know you do private tours sometimes, but have you ever thought about actually opening it up like kind of like a reptarian type style, like Brian Barczyk's?
I have people ask me that. I don't think so, because I'm an introvert, and this is at my home, like this is building outside of my home. So I don't think that's something I'm ever going to do. I'd rather come in and work quietly with a few employees and all quiet animals than deal with people all the time, especially just public strangers.
I can
It doesn't matter
understand
how
that.
much money that might bring in, it wouldn't worth it, man, I don't think.
I can understand that. Now, with you being in the game, I know Miguel has sold snakes to a lot of celebrities. Have you ever done a celeb sale?
Yeah, a few over the years, but not nearly as many as Miguel. Not really. He's managed to tap into that. I think partly because he's there in that part of the country where I'm in Georgia, so But we've had a few over the years, but nowhere near on the scale that he's managed to do. And I'm as big a cheerleader on that because again, it's just amazing exposure to the public. Some of these influencers and people that he's sold to have way more reach than I or anyone else in the industry. So it's really, really cool to see that happen.
I agree. I think that when you sell to those celebrities, and like you said, they have so many followers, it's not going to do nothing but benefit the hobby when they see those celebrities with snakes. So I love that. Now, with you having so many snakes, what's the worst bite you ever took?
I took a bite from a rattlesnake once. But it was not a typical bite. I actually had it in my hands, and I got some of its teeth stuck in my thumb. But it wasn't its fangs were not in my thumb, just his other teeth, and like it scared the crap out of me. But I didn't get envenomated. Um, but I wouldn't say any ball python bite really sticks out as being particularly bad. I still have to me, a bad bite is any bite that leaves teeth in my skin that I can't get them out. And I still have like 2 or 3 different spots in my hand where I have a ball python tooth under the skin. And it wasn't a particularly bad bite, but now every so often I'll grab onto something, I'll feel a little poke. I'm like, little tooth is in there still, and it just, it sticks with me.
Jesus Christ, bit by a rattlesnake. That's crazy, man. That is crazy. Now, this part of the show, I like to call it the hot seat section. Now, you ain't got to answer if you don't want to, but it's questions that I ask everybody. So, who do you feel like your biggest competition in the industry is? And do you like call them up like, hey, if you like, do you call them again? I'm like, hey, you sell 800 snakes. If I sell 801, you got to buy me a steak. Do y'all have like little friendly
Uh,
competitions?
I don't think I have a competition with anybody in that way. Yeah, but I would say I watch Ozzy the most, as far as like I feel like he's making the coolest stuff outside what I make. And he definitely inspires me. And it's not a competitive thing because like I said earlier, I feel like this market is massive and I can't possibly make enough snakes to meet the demand. So I need help, I'm thankful for people like him and Miguel who are making really, really, really cool stuff. And there's lots of others too. I wouldn't leave anybody out. There's literally dozens of breeders out there making amazing stuff that when I see it, I'm like, why didn't I think of that? And it's a good thing.
Okay, I love that. Now, next hot seat question. Have you ever had any crazy customers that email you every day, talk crazy? Like, have you ever give me a crazy customer story?
Boy, I try so hard to block them out. Uh, yeah, I can't think of anybody off the top of my head. We have a lot of customers like that, probably 3 or 4 a year that are just over the top. Um, and usually I just ignore them. That's all you really can do is ignore them because if you feed into it at all, it gets out of hand real fast.
You ever had that customer that because they bought one snake, they want to come over for dinner, they want the
Oh
works.
yeah, no, that's exactly it. When they think that the $100 snake they bought is now entitles me to be the best friend forever. But honestly, it's the least expensive snail sales that end up being the most high maintenance customers that we have is the smallest sales. The bigger the sale, the more money is involved. The people are generally a lot cooler. They're just easier to deal with.
Okay. Now, you don't have to, but I always ask before we end, Can we see anything? Can we see some cool snakes? Can we see a couple?
Sure, we can walk out there. I don't know how the audio is gonna be really bad out there. Gonna be the big fans on, but that's okay with you. We can walk out there.
That's fine. Let us do some fire. We can wait.
Cool.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right.
That's fine.
Let's see if I can swap here.
Yeah, we want to see some fire.
How do I swap the camera around, or can I?
You just have to. I think you just have to hold it in your hand like this.
Let's see here.
Man, while you're here, I just can't. I appreciate you for hopping on with me.
So I'm out here in the snake building now. Walked out of my office. Yeah, no problem. So let's see here. We have this. This is kind of cool. We have this really crazy. So I can get the camera to do it here. This really crazy clutch of lavenders is hatched, and this is the very first time that we've done Enchi red stripe lavenders. Let's see if I get on the camera here.
Gorgeous.
So check this out. Yeah, it's a really nice, like
gorgeous.
Enchi leopard fire red stripe pet lavender, but crazy one under here that is the coolest little pin we put Enchi and red striped into an actual visual lavender albino. So really excited about it.
Gorgeous.
I'll probably do a YouTube video about this next Friday or something.
Man, gorgeous. Couple more.
All right, let's see. Let's see if I find something really cool. Can you hear me okay with the fans going?
I can hear you. I can hear you perfectly.
Okay. Here's the original Kraken girl. Beautiful. Snake. The name of the Kraken is it has all those like octopus sucker spots all over it, you know? Really, really, really interesting pattern. We still don't know what exactly it is actually until we can breed it, but it's really, really amazing how that's turning out.
Beautiful.
We'll look right
that's
above
gorgeous,
it. Fire, yellow belly, special Batman. So we're doing Batman now, which of course is leopard spineless cloud with fire, yellow belly, and special. We're getting them super bright.
Gorgeous.
Just gonna bite the camera. So.
Mr. Justin, I want to tell you, you got some of the most gorgeous snakes I've ever seen in my life.
Thank you.
And I know that I wasn't going to hold you very long, so I'm going to go ahead and end this. But before I end all my videos, I shout out all the people in my community that I hang out with. So if you're watching, make sure you subscribe to My Animal House, Iron Dog, Cold Blooded, Fist Family Constrictors, Ball Python Love, OSMR, Not Lou, Marquez, Kurtwood, Reptile Feedings, Venom Wonderful, Desert Wolf Armory. The list is endless, man. If I forgot anybody, I apologize. But great group of people. Make sure y'all go follow them. Mr. Justin, I'm going to end this, but don't leave. We have a lot of people in the chat. I want to thank all y'all for watching. This dude is a beast in the game, man. I can't wait to see what else he's got coming. Peace out, y'all.
Thank you.